Assessors meeting held on Thursday, January 2nd. Accept them and place them on file.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Okay. First, the next item on the agenda is communications. Jessica, do we have anything, or Bob?
We don't, I don't have an update unless you have questions.
No? Old business, none. New business, we have some administrative abatements. Any yours at the beginning?
Sure. The bulk of these, so when we did the update, because of the transition and help in the office, we missed some adjustments that were supposed to be made on partially taxable properties. That's the reason for the majority of these. A couple of them are, I think there's one cell tenant who removed their equipment and their lease expired before April 1st, and we didn't pick up on that. We weren't notified. And there's one lease of city property that they were, I believe, evicted before April 1st, and we didn't capture that. So that's the bulk of these. I can go through them one at a time.
That's how we usually do it.
Okay.
So they can make a motion for each.
All right, so the 10 Whipple Street, I believe is the first one you packed. That was one where there was cell equipment removed.
Where's that back, the noise coming from? Anybody's playing with the microphone?
It's a tower by the ball fields.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm
Check,
hearing about
check,
the back.
check.
Oh, microphones, yeah. So, no, okay.
So the 10 Whipple is the equipment removed that we didn't remove in time for the final tax bill.
Any questions? Can I get a motion to approve the administrative abatement for the property at 10 Whipple Street for 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next one, Bob?
Yep, 14 Court Street. This is a city-owned parcel that has some spaces occupied by non-exempt entities, so it's taxable. And again, with the reval, the value went up, and the adjustment needed to make sure that only the correct amount was taxed wasn't updated. You know, we plugged that in as an exemption for the city-owned portion. And the difference is that $6,181.92 that has to be abated on that property.
Okay, any questions? All right, can I get a motion to approve the administrative abatement for the property at 14 Court Street for 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next one, Bob?
And just before I forget about it, I am trying to develop a method so that this doesn't happen again the next update. Right now, the way the system's set up is you have to recalculate a lump sum dollar amount to apply to that property. And I believe I've discovered a way where I can just put in the percentage adjustment right into the property so that even if the value goes up, it calculates the correct taxable versus exempt. And I've already done that on 2 or 3 properties, and I'm going to try to get it on like a test tax bill on those 2 or 3 properties to see if it works, and if it does, this shouldn't happen again.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was wondering why there was a tax for the city's portion. It seemed to start there and then go back. But, okay, that'd be good.
Okay, so just explain, so this is a city-owned lot, parcel, right? Is it improved on? Or-
Yeah,
Court Street?
Yeah.
yeah,
Court
cool.
Street's the theater,
It's the building across from the library, Library Plaza.
Oh, okay, so the old firehouse?
Yes.
Okay, so that property, it's city-owned,
Yep.
and so part of it, we have leased out, and so that becomes a taxable portion?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's occupied by a non-exempt entity, meaning they're a for-profit individual or company, that's subject to taxation. If it's leased out to a charitable entity, so long as they file the right paperwork, they also wouldn't have to pay taxes, and there wouldn't be any bill on that. So
You got that brewery on the first floor.
Right, so their lease is a triple net, and so they're responsible for the taxes, is that how it
Yes.
works? Okay.
Yes.
So, and did you see this legislature, somebody just proposed legislation in New Hampshire to tax exempt parcels? I mean,
Yeah, local
charitable.
option.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, no kidding.
All
I
in
mean,
favor?
we could.
Charitable,
All charitable.
not municipal.
Yeah.
Yeah, some percentage of the municipal portion of the tax rate. And I'd love to have a chat with anybody about that at some point down the road, but I've been thinking about that and working on it in my head for 20 years now. And,
Yeah.
yeah, the lobbyists for those entities are well-paid and do a good job. I don't see it ever passing.
Oh, I know, we've
And-
already been notified. The YMCA has already spoken out against it, so.
And of course, there's an attempt every year to prevent every municipality from being able to counter lobby, right, because you're using public funds. So there's no balancing act there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we could have a philosophical discussion about that, but, yeah, I did see.
We could have a philosophical discussion about property taxes.
Yes, we could. They're also trying to
You know,
bar
the
NHMA
purest-
from.
The purest property
testifying.
tax system is one with no exceptions.
Yeah.
And everything from there down is an erosion of that, fair and equitable, so.
Yeah, but you know the thing that the three lawyers here in the room learned in law school? I learned two things in law school. One of them is that there's an exception to every rule except for one.
That is an exception to every rule.
Exactly, yeah. I forgot the second thing I learned.
All right, next one, 6 Main Street.
Okay. Yep, so this was the one where a tenant vacated before April 1st, and we didn't make that adjustment. So that's the reason for that exemption.
Haven't we seen this one already? I thought this one was already, same, it came in.
Tried to, but I don't think we completed it somehow.
Oh, we tabled it or something, or?
We tabled it, or we did the previous year, yeah,
Yeah, I
something like
think,
that.
No, I think what happened was, it was at Whipple Street, I think, the
Whipple
the
Street
cell
is
tower.
still outstanding. We're
It is-
waiting for
Because we're
legal
looking
to
at
send a
you
letter.
to see if you were gonna go collect the past
2022
due rent
tax.
on that one.
right, but that was a prior year. The one we just did, the first one
The
on
Whipple.
Whipple Street was
For the
Okay.
current year.
the current
Okay.
year, and we know that they weren't there.
Okay,
Right? So
Gotcha.
it's the prior year that they,
they still owe us money for
yeah,
it.
but, it's,
Potentially.
who are you gonna collect from?
Verizon, or T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Give it to me, I'll go collect it.
I don't know, I think Celia was gonna send a note out to them. I
Yeah.
don't know. We'll make a note
She
to
may
follow
have.
up.
Yeah.
Any questions on 6 Main Street?
No.
Can I get a motion to approve the administrative abatement for the property located at 6 Main Street for 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay, the ayes have it. Next one, Bob.
Okay, 5 Concord Street is not city-owned, it's church-owned, but it's an apartment building, I believe there's 7 units. And 4 or 5 of the units are leased to a nonprofit charitable entity, and they qualify for an exemption on their portion of the property. And the church collects rents on the ones that they haven't leased out, and they're not utilized for charitable, so the church has to pay taxes on those. But the proration between what was taxable and what was exempt was off a bit, so that's just a small adjustment, and we fixed that going forward.
All right. Who owns the apartments?
The church.
Is it a church-owned entity that's already filed for an exemption as a charitable organization?
No, because they're not, it has to be owned, occupied, and used for that either religious or charitable purpose. They own it, but it's just rented out to anybody who wants to rent a unit from them.
Right.
I think they rent below market. They pick and choose who they want to be in there. But
Yeah.
it doesn't qualify as occupied and used for a RSA 7223 exemption.
Okay.
So the church pays taxes on that. Now, if they lease the entirety of it out to the entity that does qualify as charitable and qualifying for that exemption, then it would be entirely exempt.
Okay.
And I think they're contemplating that at this point, so.
Gotcha.
But for the time being, it's a small adjustment, and we fixed that going forward.
Okay, any questions? Can I get a motion to approve the administrative abatement for the property at 5 Concord Street for 2024.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, the ayes have it. Next one, Bob.
Yep, so the next one is a parcel that was acquired by the Airport Authority. And the Airport Authority is exempt as a government entity. The office did not pick up that transfer and convert it to exempt. Unlike religious, educational, or charitable property who have to apply for the exemption, once it's owned by a government entity, it should be exempt, without them having that. It would have been nice if they had flagged it for us, especially since they got a June tax bill, but they didn't until after they got their final bill. So they were issued a tax bill, but it should have been exempt.
Which parcel is this?
This is, this is the piece of land, because there's two of them for the airport. This is a piece of land on Pine Hill Road, a little over ½ acre.
Approximately across Pine Hill Road from the brick hangar, basically a bunch of trees on a lot. They're going to trim the trees, which is necessary for the approach from airplanes. And so that's why they acquired the property, so they could maintain these trees.
Okay.
But it's vacant except for the trees. Approximately, like I say, across the Pine Hill Road from the brick hangar.
And I think they already owned a parcel next door to this, if I recall from when I
I think
researched.
whenever the opportunity arises, they seem to pick off what's available, and all for that purpose, basically, to maintain the flight path.
Any questions? Can I get a motion to approve the administrative abatement for the property, the lot on Pine Hill Road for 2024?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, the ayes have it. Next one, Bob.
So the next one is 79 Perimeter Road. This was originally part of Daniel Webster College, I believe. It went from Daniel Webster College to Nashua when they went bankrupt, so that was 2009. And then Southern New Hampshire University took over the program, and they applied for and received an exemption on this parcel. And when they stopped operating, they turned this back over to the city, and that was in September of 2023. It had been listed as exempt. And of course, when you have a transfer on a property, that's a flag to remove the exemption, and that's what happened, even though the city took
Right.
ownership, the City Airport Authority. So there again, it should have remained exempt under a different category, but it should have remained exempt, and it didn't, so that tax bill is generated, and it needs to be abated.
Any questions?
No.
Can I get a motion to approve the administrative abatement for the property at 79 Perimeter Road for 2024?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, the ayes have it.
Okay, next one is 439 South Main Street. These are the new dorms at Riviera University. The new construction was complete for '24, and it was picked up. The city has adopted, normally dormitory and dining halls are exempt up to a value of $150,000. That's the state law that the RSA 7223 provides. That it's anything over a value of $150,000 is taxable to that university or college. But there's also a local option where you can adopt a greater amount. I think that, the statute maybe anticipates that you would adopt a dollar amount, like instead of $150, it would be $300 or something. But what the city adopted was they're going to bill them only for non-school taxes. So they're going to bill them for the city, municipal tax rate, and the county tax rate. And the way that's been affected on these properties is you do the math to find out what percentage of the tax rate is the school, and I believe right now it's like 52.64%. So that's an additional exemption on the dormitories. That wasn't applied for '24. Again, because of the change of the guard and the new construction pickup, that was missed. So I've done the calculation, and again, this is another one where I'm trying to build it in so that next update, instead of doing a lump sum dollar and we have a tax bill, that it's an automatic adjustment.
That's a tricky one.
It is. It applies to,
A portion of a portion.
yeah. And rather than doing like a pilot payment, which might be the cleaner way to do this, it's done as a property tax warrant, because the RSA 7223 says they're taxable. But this one's a little funky. I did check with Steve Hamilton, the Whitney Consulting Group, and he pointed out that the law doesn't specify it has to be, an adoption of a dollar amount. So he feels that the city ordinance 295-2 is allowed by that statute. It just needs to be applied every year, so.
So it has to be applied every year. They have to come in and,
Well, they don't. We're supposed to adjust it for that
Okay.
tax rate. Now, personally, I think if it's always around 52, 53%, I don't know that I want to adjust it every year. Plus, we don't know what the tax rate is, right, for that year until we've sent the bills out. So it's always going to be based on last year's ratio.
so if Trump gets rid of the Department of Education and gives all the cities and towns block grants, that's going to impact this because of the taxes on the education component.
It might, yeah.
Yeah,
You mean if what we need to raise with the school rate
for the
goes down?
taxes,
Yeah.
exactly.
It would be
Yeah.
the same thing if the state decided to pick up, a larger portion.
Right, which could happen with block grants, so,
Yeah.
interesting, okay.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the administrative abatement for the property at 439 South Main Street for 2024?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
All right, the next one is St. Joseph Hospital, 172 Kinsley. This is a tough one, and it's the same type of thing where it's partly taxable because certain parts of it are occupied by non-exempt entities. And then there's also a parking garage that partly services their taxable medical office building, right? So there's like 9 buildings, and each of them is a little bit different as to whether they are exempt, totally taxable, or a mix. And of course, this is a, $84 million property, so when you do a reval and the value goes up 10 or 12%, that's a big hit to the bottom line. So adjustments that should have been made on this property weren't made, and they were overbilled by a significant amount. My calculation is that 106,652. And this is the parcel that I'm really trying to kind of work some magic so that at every update, we don't have to worry about whether the calculations come up. And I have discovered a method to do that with our current CAMA system. Of course, we're converting next year, 26, so it may be a one-year fix. But I'm pretty familiar with the new CAMA system we're going to get, and I'm hoping to do the same thing with that system. So that no matter what you do, when you do an update, it's going to calculate the right proration on the values so that they're billed properly.
you said camera systems?
CAMA, Computer Assisted Mass Appraisal.
Okay,
So that's like Assess Pro here,
okay.
and we're going to convert to the Vision CAMA system next year.
Our software database.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the administrative abatement for the property at 172 Kinsley Street for 2024?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
All right, the next one is 9 Stadium Drive. It's actually the Conway Arena. This is another, I believe, multi-building parcel. Yeah, it's 5 property cards. Part of the Conway Arena, I believe mezzanine area or something, is occupied by a for-profit entity. I don't know if it's a snack bar or if they sell hockey equipment or what it is, but that portion, that square footage is taxable. And again, that lump sum dollar amount to offset the proration between taxable and exempt wasn't updated with the reval, so they were overtaxed.
Any questions?
okay, so this is a tenant that's in there,
Yes,
and they're a tenant of the city.
They're a tenant of whatever entity operates the Conway Arena. I don't know what that relationship is, if it's a management company or what it is. Maybe Attorney Bolton knows better.
City owns the land at least, and Conway, under some name, is the city's tenant, and they operate, they're a charity. They operate the ice rink and so forth. They rent some space to a for-profit retail operation. I think they run concessions as stated, but also sell essentially hockey equipment. There may be other sporting goods as well, but essentially hockey equipment. And so it's that area that's rented to the retail operation that's taxable.
And the city bills Conway because they're the responsible entity, and they pass the bill on to their tenant.
Oh, and do you analyze a tenant's lease?
From the perspective of what amount of space do they occupy, that would have been done. You know, I inherited the square footage report, but at some point they must have looked at
To
that
look to
lease.
see who's paying the taxes on that?
I have not looked at the lease for that. So I don't know if the arrangement is they pay a gross amount to Conway,
Exactly,
and then Conway's responsible.
exactly.
But if that's the case, the gross amount reflects enough to cover the taxes.
Was Conway paying taxes on the ice rink?
No.
Right, so,
So
Is
Conway
there-
collects the taxes from the tenant.
Yeah, and it might just be that the rent is a little higher than it otherwise would be, and then Conway, you know, pays the taxes. It's Conway that reached out to us about the tax bill.
The taxability is just a question of law. Who pays it is between Conway and the retail operation. We don't really care about that, but we know if they're not using it for the charitable purpose, if they're using it for a profit-making purpose, it's taxable.
Let's say we build the tenant and they don't pay. It's Conway's agreement with the city that's at risk, whatever lease arrangement that is. And I'm sure it has a provision that if they don't pay all, you know, taxes, fees, whatever that are associated with their operation of the property, that their lease terminates. So it's probably better to send them the bill and let them figure out how to collect it. It's the same with those city properties that we already looked at. The tax bill is actually sent to the city. It's sent to itself. And then we write up like a separate tax bill that the tax office can use for those tenants. But the actual warrant is the city, you know, warrants and bills itself for those. And then we do a separate tax bill that they can send along to collect.
Yeah, but if the lease between the city and the tenant says that the tenant's not responsible for the taxes, then the city's gonna pay the taxes that are due on that.
Yeah, like that would have to be a gross lease, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
The statute, there is a statute that requires us to put a term in the lease that the tenant will pay the tax.
And it used to be that if you wrote a defective lease, meaning you didn't put that term in there, that there was no ability to collect taxes, and they've changed that statute so that whether you comply with that portion of the statute or not, it's still taxable.
Okay. Now, what if, that's fine and good if it's a city-owned property, but let's take the example of First Church.
Yeah.
Do you look at the leases on each individual apartment unit to see if there's any type of benefit to the tenant because of the non-for-profit?
Well, there's only one lease there, and it's for like and I forget if it's 4 or 5 of the 7 units. I think it's probably 4 of the units.
So it's a master lease for?
For those, yeah, so what's the name of the,
Oh, is it Family Promise or something?
yeah, Family Promise. So that's the charitable entity that leases the block of units, and then they run that as a
Okay.
charitable entity.
Okay. All right, that's interesting.
And there again, that's a case where that tenant would be exempt, but if the church doesn't pay taxes on their portion, it's subject to liening and deeding.
Right. Okay.
all right, can I get a motion to approve the administrative abatement for the property at 9 Stadium Drive for 2024.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next one, is it Jessica, the next one?
Yeah, Jessica, or either one of us can take care of it. I'll put
You
it in
start.
front of you, and then if you have questions, you can ask Jessica. So, this was a property that, did we look at this one
Is this,
as part of the
Raymond Street?
hearings?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, we looked at it too late to make a change before the tax bill went out. And there's probably a couple of these. And we informed the owner that they should file an abatement because it would be the only way to make that correction for '24. So we told them to file the abatement so that we could make the data correction adjustment. And after inspecting it, the value went from $770,400 to $730,100, and it's the difference that we're recommending granting and approving the abatement.
Any questions?
None.
Can I get a motion to approve the administrative abatement for the property, the abatement, not administrative, for the property at 29.5 Raymond Street for 2024?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
All right, the next one is Canongate 3, 234 Canongate. This one was,
This was the flooring, and you had checked all the others had
Yeah.
carpet.
but this was an abatement. I don't think this was part of the hearings.
Right.
So this person indicated that their unit was identical to several others in the building, but it was assessed like $10,000 more. So we started comparing the cards, and difference was flooring. We had this unit listed as having hardwood. That alone made that difference. Jessica inspected the property, and what's in there might have a wood face to it, but it's engineered, click flooring.
Yep.
And certainly doesn't have a $10,000 difference in market value. So that's the change to this one that lowers the value, that $10,200, resulting in an abatement recommendation of $162.18.
How'd that problem happen?
Well, somebody, it's sold in MLS, and the MLS had hardwood floorings, and the picture showed wood flooring, and we just corrected it to hardwood.
From the
And
MLS?
there is some of that engineered flooring that's got a wood face to it.
Oh,
So,
sure.
you look at it, and it's a real wood face to it, but it's not real hardwood.
So I'm just curious, so we take things off the MLS and modify the
Sure.
property card?
Yep, well, I know my policy has been for the almost 20 years I've been on that end of the businesses. I will pick up changes from MLS if there's confirmation with photos, like a finished basement. If it just says in the comments, finished basement, and there's no photos to show me how much finish, because it needs to be more than just carpet thrown on the floor and its concrete walls. It needs to be, walls, ceilings, floors, and heat. And in Manchester, it was 3 out of the 4. It's probably the same here. So if you've got finished walls, ceiling, and heat, it's finished. If it's just walls with no flooring and no ceiling, then we don't pick it up as finished. So if we can confirm that with the interior photos, we'll pick it up. And then I know that we also do spend some time inspecting sale properties. So we try to confirm it by getting in. We don't always have too much success with that, but we try.
Okay, excuse me. Can I get a motion to approve the abatement for the property located at 234 Canongate 3 Road for 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Okay, next one is 193 West Hollis. And here again, it's just data corrections. It's not a dispute on an opinion of value, correct?
Yeah, Miles went out and inspected it.
So after inspection, and quality control by both Jessica and myself, because Miles is a certified measurer and lister, so he can't recommend an abatement. Somebody else has to oversee that work as far as the way assessing standards work. So this is overseen by Jessica and myself, and the reduction in value is appropriate, and we're recommending approval out of abatement.
Any questions?
None.
Can I get a motion to approve the abatement for the property at 193 West Hollis Street for 2024?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
We're on to denials now.
Yep, so the rest are denieds. This first one has a little more comment to make than normally just denieds. This is an elderly individual whose son-in-law is a longtime assessor in the state, and he actually was at the property for the inspection. The inspection indicated that the value wouldn't go down with data corrections. In fact, it might have gone up a little bit. This is an individual who qualified for the highest tier of the elderly exemption, but with the increases in value we've seen, that no longer offsets the entire value for the tax bill. So like, 4 years ago, this individual didn't get a tax bill because the exemption amount exceeded the value of the property. Now, even though we've increased the exemption, the city has increased the exemption amounts, it hasn't kept up with some of these properties whose values have gone up even more. So this individual's getting a tax bill. We are going to recommend that if it's a hardship paying that tax bill, that this individual apply for deferral, like you saw in front of you last month.
Right.
That's appropriate as opposed to doing a hardship abatement. I don't want to do a hardship abatement when the person owns the property free and clear and has, $442,000 of equity. Better for the city to defer those taxes. That keeps the person in the house, doesn't have to pay that tax bill until they no longer occupy the house. So it's more fair for both the taxpayer and the city, and that's what we're going to recommend. We actually recommended it verbally to Norm Pelletier, who is the assessor, who's the son-in-law. But he wanted to wait and see what this board took for action before he did that. So we'll reach out again after we send out this notice of denial.
Any questions?
None.
Can I get a motion to deny the abatement request for the property at 5 March Street for 2024?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Next one is 26 12th Street. This is another case where the taxpayer sent in an abatement saying, hey, my house is just like these 3 other ones, and I'm higher by, I think it was about $10,000. So again, we looked at the property cards and said, well, the only difference is that you have solar panels and the others don't. And you have an exemption on that. So there is no difference in the bottom line what you're paying taxes on. And after that explanation, I think the taxpayer was satisfied, but they still made an application, so we need to deny it. And that's the recommendation.
Okay, any questions?
No questions.
Can I get a motion to deny the abatement for the property at 26 12th Street for 2024?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
The next denial is 566 West Hollis. On this one, I mean, the taxpayer supplies a narrative as to why they think the assessment is too high, but doesn't really supply any market data. I think all they're doing is critiquing the components that make up the value, and you can't achieve an abatement based on that. All you can challenge is the total value. So they didn't provide any market data, and we did take a look at comparable sales in the area, and we believe they support the current assessment, and we recommend denial.
Any questions?
No questions.
Can I get a motion to deny the abatement for the property at 566 West Hollis Street?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
The next one is 22 Woodland. And I don't know if you had an opportunity to look through this one. This individual is complaining that the property being developed as a residence for individuals with disabilities, behavioral health challenges, autism, and so forth, is being opened up in the neighborhood, and he feels that that is a negative that's going to drop everybody's value. But he provided no concrete market data to support that. we did a search of the neighborhood for sales, and there was actually a sale of a property that abuts the property that's being used for that charitable endeavor, that sold after the approval of that property being developed, and it doesn't indicate there's any reduction in value. So what was provided was, innuendo as to what that might have for an effect on the neighborhood, but no concrete evidence. And there happened to be a sale that not only is in the neighborhood, but is an abutter to the property that's being developed for that charitable use. So we're recommending denied.
Did the zoning board allow a variance?
I believe this is the one that the attorney can help us with this one maybe, but I believe this is one of those cases where you can't discriminate against people with disabilities, so you can't deny having a property like this in the neighborhood,
This did not come to the zoning board.
No.
because I don't think they need to have it. It's
It's allowed by right.
it's allowed by right
Yeah.
under the ADA.
There's no litigation over this property that I recall.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there was a lot of noise, but there's no, and had they applied for some variance or something and been denied, I think they would have been in trouble on challenge. And I don't know, I guess somebody who doesn't understand how these properties are operated might get really upset, and you can read through the narrative, the couple of pages the guy sent. I've got one of these in my neighborhood, and you don't even know it's there. It's well managed. In my case, there's 3 individuals living in this single-family home. One of them happens to be my brother-in-law, just coincidentally. And there's always at least 3 people there taking care of these 3 individuals that live there, 24/7. This from outward, the only thing that you might hear is if somebody's got an issue where there has been a moaner living in that house, like all they do is make loud noises, just that's their disability. If the windows are open, it might be a little bit of a nuisance to the neighbors, but other than that, it's not an issue, so.
But end of the day, he's not providing marketing data.
No, none. And he claims to be a realtor or have real estate experience, but you can read the narrative.
Yeah, I read the narrative.
And it's like,
He's also claiming the property was effectively rezoned, which is
Yeah.
obviously not the case.
Yeah, and it's show me with market data, and there isn't any. And now, if you start having a bunch of sales on the street that drop in value by half, come back to us next year and show us that. But we have a sale right there, and that sale happened. The closing happened after this house was approved for that use, or that they started using it for that. So I'm sure this one will come back as an appeal, but we'll deal with it when it does.
All right, can I get a motion to approve to deny the abatement at 22 Woodland Drive for 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
The next one is a condo unit at 307B Amherst Street. This individual had gone to a hearing, provided an appraisal, and also provided a copy of the appraisal with the abatement request. That appraisal has a point estimate of the market value of $313, and they wanted this reduced to at least that. What the individual doesn't really talk about is that if you look at the grid, which is part of this package, of the 3 comps, one is at 312, after adjustments, one indicates a value of 312,900, and the other two are 322 and 331. So what the Board of Tax and Land Appeals and the courts have found is there's no single precise answer to what a reasonable value is, but rather a range of values that if you're in the range, it's reasonable. And under that test, if you've got an appraisal that says the value is 313, but the adjusted comps are from 313 to 331, and your assessment is 328,900, that's reasonable. Okay. In fact, if I took this to the DTLA, even if the value was 313, I would argue that it's within 5%, which it is. And that's reasonable based on what the PTLA looks at. I know they don't like to hear it, but really what it amounts to is it's for this type of appraising, that's as good as it gets, just because of the nature of mass appraisal. So, but in this case, it's clear. It's in the range of their own market data, and it should be denied.
Any questions? Can I get a motion to deny the abatement for the property at 307B Amherst Street, Unit 24, for 2024?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. One
All
more,
right,
Bob?
12 West Hobart. This is another one that has an appraisal with it. And the indicated value in that appraisal ranges from, and this is based on the comps, ranges from 508 to 552, 482 to 552, and the value is 535, 500. It's in the range, it's reasonable. And they did it, basically, they did our work for us.
Right.
Yeah. They supported your work.
Can I get a motion to deny the abatement for the property at 12 West Hobart Street for 2024?
So moved.
Oh, let me just ask a question. Is everything right on the property card? Like, did we miss the flooring? Did we, is there something that she could come back with?
Did we inspect this one?
I don't believe so.
I don't think if they make the argument that there's data errors, we always inspect.
Yeah, if they don't
So
mention-
they would not have made that as part of this. And their argument was, we paid for an appraisal. It says 525, and we're at 535, we want it reduced. But again, it's a point estimate. But if you look at that range, we're in range. Even if the high end of the range was 525, I would recommend denying this one, because that's within 2%. But yeah, well, actually, we have the appraisal to look at, and if there had been any data issues, we would have pursued that a little more.
Okay. Good.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
We don't have any more time for Steve, do we? Done.
That's just fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Just approve the two recommendations.
approve it.
and-
All right, then the next item on the agenda is public comment. I don't see anybody here, so next one, there's none. Comments by members of the board?
None.
None?
None.
Okay, let's go into non-public.